Hello everyone and welcome to round 3 of this year's Chennai Grandmasters tournament. We have a very nice game between Alexey, Sarana and one of the leaders, Arjun Erigaisi, who is now a 2800 player, still in live ratings though, not in actual FIDE rating, but if he continues like this, it will be an official 2800. And it's a really cool game. If you've watched the previous video I made where he faced Vidit Gujarati, it seemed that Vidit simply refused to take a draw, that he could take a draw like 8 times during the game and he just didn't want to draw. He wanted to beat Arjun. And maybe that's a thing now. Maybe Arjun, as he's over 2800, maybe he's the new cool kid in town that you want to beat in chess and everyone wants to do it. And something similar happened in this one. So let's check it out, and also there will be a really nice, at least one pause the video moment. I'm still deciding on it, will decide during the video. So okay, let's check it out. Alexey Sarana with white opens with pawn to d4, and as you can see, Alexey is 2679, which is a lot, but compared to Arjun's 2799, it looks like, he's playing, well, not even a top grandmaster. That's how high Arjun's rating is. We have pawn to d4, knight f6, we have pawn to c4, e6, knight to c3, and bishop to b4. This is the Nimzo-Indian defense, and we have a very interesting line. Okay, e3 is the top move here. This is the so-called normal or standard line, but usually it's countered with castles or pawn to c5. But here Arjun goes for pawn to b6. It's what I play when I don't know what I'm doing and I don't want to learn too much theory and I just want to develop my light square bishop as soon as possible. Of course, Arjun does it for a very different reason, as you'll see in the game. We have bishop to d3. This is called the St. Petersburg variation, but also sometimes the Bobby Fischer variation. We have bishop to b7, knight to f3, and castles kingside. We have castles kingside as well by Alexey. Pawn to c5, striking against the white strong center, and now knight to a4. C captures on d4, and now pawn to a3. Now, usually there should be some sort of a punishment for black just developing his pieces like this, and I mean, usually black should be a little bit behind in development. Usually you're giving up something when you're developing too fast with black. And indeed, white could just grab the full center here. Let's say with e captures on d4, it's not so simple for black to continue. Interesting variation is that, let's say you try pawn to d5, already pawn to c5 happens, and now you have to worry about moves like pawn to a3. Then let's say b captures on c5, pawn to a3 attacks the bishop, you can play c4, and now there can be a nice bishop captures on h7, knight captures and a captures on b4. Very uneven position where white has a strong central square for the knight on e5, a semi-open a file for the rook, and well, it's an interesting position, to say the least. But here, after c captures on d4, Alexey tried pawn to a3. So he waits with the recapture on d4. Bishop to e7 by Arjun. You can see that he really confused him, because look at Arjun's time before this move. An hour and 28 minutes, which means that he's playing pretty much instantly, not thinking about the moves at all. But after a3, he moves bishop to e7. He spends 11 minutes on this move. So we can safely say that Arjun is now out of book. Maybe he saw the position at some point and he knows, what it should be, but maybe not all the moves by heart. We have e captures on d4, and now queen to c7. Spending another 3 minutes here. Rook to e1, and now Arjun finally strikes with pawn to d5, investing additional 10 minutes on the move, and he's already down to an hour and 5 minutes. Okay, Sarana also burning time, an hour and 7 minutes. And pawn to c5, as one might expect. We have b captures, knight captures, bishop captures, d captures, and queen captures on c5. So if you count the pawns, Alexey is down a pawn, but he will get excellent compensation for the sacrificed pawn. And there is a game where pawn to b4 was played, and it's not a bad move. It's in fact the top move recommended by the engine. But Alexey goes bishop to f4, and it is now as of move 15 that we have a completely new game. So okay, we have queen to b6, getting the queen out of the way because it's gonna get attacked, and now knight to e5. And it's a really tricky position, like I said. Arjun is up a pawn, but Alexey has the advantage of the bishop pair, which is huge in an open position like this, and it's very hard to develop. You kind of don't want to play knight b to d7. If you play knight to c6, I could show you why. I mean, it looks like a perfectly reasonable move to play. The problem is you can just trade, and let's say after captures, you will attack the queen. Bishop to e3, and now you cannot capture on b2. If you capture on b2, then simply bishop to d4. You cannot capture because then bishop captures on h7 check, picks up the queen on d4. And if you move the queen now, well, then you just open up, and then bishop captures on h7 in the style of Emanuel Lasker, just a nice double bishop sacrifice, queen h5 check, king to g8, queen to g4 check, and you bring the rook into the game and you checkmate the black king. It's that simple. So what you would have to do after something like bishop to e3 is just go back, and then the bishop comes to d4. Defends the b2 pawn indefinitely, controls this diagonal. You also have the huge advantage of the bishop pair. You will now activate the rook, get the queen into the attack, and it's going to be very, very hard to defend for black. So yes, you're up a pawn, but the advantage of the bishop pair on an open board is unquestionable. So after this knight to e5 move, Arjun says, all right, I see what you're doing here. He goes bishop to a6. He says the light square bishops should definitely leave the board. And Sarana says, nope, bishop to c2. We have rook to c8, and not even developing the knight. He wants activity at all costs. Pawn to b4, and only now knight to c6. We have rook to c1, and knight captures on e5. Bishop captures, so Alexey gets his bishops to attack the black king. And now rook to c4. Now, if Arjun can play rook 8 to c8 and double up on the c file, his position will improve drastically. And Alexey, of course, needs to do something about the position before that happens. So he starts by cracking open Arjun's defenses. Bishop captures on f6, g captures, and queen to h5. He goes after the h7 pawn. King to f8, f5 can also be played, but then it allows a very quick draw with queen to g5 check. So king to f8, Arjun still adamant about winning every game he plays. We have bishop to b3, now offering a rook trade, and rook back to c6. He says, nope, not interested. And it's a really cool move, but there is a problem if Alexey reacts to it well, which he doesn't. He plays queen captures on h7. The real try was bishop captures on d5. Because if you open up the position, then the rook controls the e-file, and then the queen becomes very scary on the king side. And even if you trade rooks here, let's say rook captures, and rook to c8, you will just trade, let's say rook captures, bishop captures, and okay, you move the bishop. Equal material, but two pawn islands versus 3 pawn islands, plus there's a doubled f pawn. Much better for white. Whether white could win, it's hard to say. Probably not, but white would be the one that's pushing. But after rook to c6, Alexey played queen captures on h7, and now we have rook 8 to c8. Now the rook on a8 will never be a target, and it's a much better position for Arjun than it was. Not better objectively, but better than it was. And now we have rook c to d1, avoiding the trade, and again threatening some bishop captures on d5 action. So Arjun reacts, pawn to d4, and now comes pawn to h4. Alexey says, all right, I'm not going to burn any more time here. I'm just going to advance my past h pawn to victory. But there was, in fact, a win here. And it's a really cool one, starting with rook to e4. And you might be thinking, okay, but why is this so winning? Well, it's winning because this pawn is hanging, and if you don't want to lose another pawn, you have to defend it. Let's say rook to d6, and now comes rook to f4. And now after king to e7, defending the pawn, there's queen g7, attacking the pawn on f6, and the only way to defend is pawn to f5, and now let's say rook to e1, with threats like rook captures on f5. This is undefendable. There's no way to save this position for black. But yeah, you have to play this pretty committal rook to e4 move. Pawn to h4 was played, which is, okay, you're marching the pawn up the board. Also, you free up the h2 square for your king, so you can get back rank mated. Also makes sense. Pawn to d3 by Arjun, and now pawn to h5. And here, Arjun makes a crucial mistake in the game. He plays queen to d4. And there's a big problem here. Alexey did not find it in the game, but I will make this a pause the video moment because it's very, very difficult to spot this. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Alexey while I give you a couple of seconds. Solve this one and you take down a 2800 player. I'm just going to show it to you. The move is pawn to b5, made possible, of course, by the pawn being on b4 already. But yeah, that's the key idea, and I'm going to show you why it's winning. It looks like nothing, but now look at this. Bishop captures on b5, b5 if you don't want to lose a piece, and now bishop captures on e6, and after f captures on e6, there's this very nasty rook to e4 move, and now you either give up the queen or you move the queen, doesn't really matter, and then rook g4 followed by rook to g8 checkmate. You cannot defend this. There is no way to defend this. And again, if you're wondering, couldn't we just do all that without playing pawn to b5? No, not really, because if without pawn to b5, there would be the possibility of after bishop captures on e6, you don't have to play f captures. You can play rook captures on e6, and this is the key issue. Now the win is queen to h8 check, king to e7, and queen picks up the rook on c8. And that's why the b5 move is winning, because as long as the bishop is on a6, the bishop is guarding the rook on c8. So now you would just pick up the rook, and that's it. There's no problems there. Completely winning for white. Doesn't really matter what you play. If you captures, even if you play, okay, let's say rook captures, pawn to d2, it comes with check, so you don't even have time for that. King d6, and you continue the attack. I mean, it's just too overwhelming. But yeah, after queen to d4, Alexey does not pick up on pawn to b5. He starts with rook to e4, which is kind of the part of the combination, but now he allows Arjun to grab hold of the position. Queen to b2. And okay, what's so special about this? Okay, it attacks the bishop to a4, attacks the rook, and now rook to c1. Everything happening with tempo, as the rook on d1 is undefended. We have queen h6 check, king to e7, and now queen to e3. The key here was to start trading down, just rook captures, rook captures with check, king h2, and I have pawn to d2, there's rook to d4, and it seems like, okay, you're winning the pawn here, but not really. It's actually a draw because of the funny bishop maneuver. Bishop to b5, you cannot move the bishop as you lose control over the d1 square, so you have to play bishop to b3, and now bishop to c4. Again, nothing can capture it, you lose control over the d1 square, and you move back and forth. The dance of the bishops ensures a draw. However, after king to e7, queen to e3 was played. Again, looks like you're threatening all sorts of stuff, but now it is Arjun that's winning. And yeah, Alexey just squanders the game. Rook captures on d1 with check, bishop captures on d1, and now queen to c1, attacking the queen and also putting pressure on the undefended bishop on d1. So there's nothing to try here but to go for the counter attack. If you go for something like queen to e1, then pawn to d2 is just too scary. What do you even play here? You cannot play queen to f1 as the bishop covers that. So you resign here. The only way to try is to go forward. Queen captures on a7 with check, rook to c7, queen captures on a6, queen captures on d1 with check, king h2, and now queen captures on h5. With check, we have king to g3, pawn to d2, and now rook to d4. But there is nothing here. Queen to e5 with check, and he was in this position on move 37 that Alexey Sarana resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So beautiful game by both of them, but it is Arjun Erigaisi that takes the win here. You resign because you're going to lose the rook, and if you play something like rook to f4, which is the only move that saves your rook, then you get another queen into the game, and that's pretty much self-explanatory. And that's why I used the quote about this game by Anish Giri. He posted this on Twitter after this game was played. He said that Arjun plays a unique brand of chess which people following with modern engines can't understand. Now, you could misinterpret Anish's idea by thinking that if you use an antique engine that you will be able to understand better, but that's not what Anish was saying here. He says that because when you watch a game with an engine like we analyze now, it seems that Arjun was lost in so many positions, but that's okay. The engine sees that. A human will not see that, and then you might get the wrong idea if you follow with an engine. Also, one of the reasons why I never use an engine bar in my videos, it would just spoil the magic, and you guys would think, okay, who is this guy? You know, the engine bar says he's a bad player, but obviously he's 2800, so he's not a bad player. So that's why I never force the engine bar upon you, and you guys can just, you know, enjoy the magic and, you know, have some fun. So yeah, Arjun wins a very nice victory against a very strong player like Alexey Sarana, and Arjun is now the second highest rated player in the world. In live ratings, only second to Magnus Carlsen. He is now, I'm just going to check real quickly on live ratings. On live ratings, he's 28.05 and Magnus is 28.31. So okay, 26 more points and he will overtake Magnus Carlsen, but there is still quite a lot to do. Before that happens. We'll definitely see how it goes. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed. A big congratulations to Arjun. I mean, he's simply playing incredible chess, and with Gukesh, I don't think he will be playing any more games. He's now strictly preparing for his World Chess Championship match against Ding Liren. And Anand not playing so much chess. Arjun is the top Indian to follow. Before the start of the World Chess Championship match. So I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Robert Arathun, Christopher Thompson, Rupert Miles, Cassius Johnson, and Jeffrey Johnson for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.